Yo, we're back. Last time I covered my matches 10 through 6, and now it's time to get into the top 5 of my top 10 favorite wrestling matches of all time. Coming in at number 5, Kenny Omega versus Tetsuya Naito, New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 27 Finals 2017. An absolute masterpiece of a straight up bomb fest. A non-stop action-packed sprint in front of an all-time hot crowd for the G1 final between perhaps at the time the two most beloved wrestlers in the entire company. Omega and Naito had a classic the previous year in a match that I think really put Omega on a lot of people's radar. But this time, he was just building on his already insane run in 2017. Tetsuya Naito is one of the smoothest wrestlers of all time, fast between the ropes and chains move combinations together like no other. These two went all out. High degree of difficulty defined. Even the botches seem intentional and add to the level of danger in a match where two of the best in the world are just trying to destroy each other. Naito, sort of the black sheep of New Japan. Would this finally be his moment? There's something magical about the chemistry that these two have in the ring. Everybody in 2017 was talking about the Omega Okada stuff, but the last 2 years had shown that Kenny Omega and Tetsuya Naito had chemistry that was unmatched. There's just a rhythm they wrestle in, and everything is so precise no matter how crazy it is. Whenever I get asked what match would you show someone who isn't a wrestling fan to make them a fan, I always say this is the one. These two deal an incredible amount of damage to each other, and the selling by Omega is out of this world. Destino has never looked cooler than it does in this match. All-time great performances from both these legends. One of my favorite matches of all time, and just another classic from my favorite year in the history of pro wrestling, 2017. Number 4, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom 17, 2023. My favorite match of the year from 2023. I covered this match in my video where I did my top 10 favorite matches of 2023, and if you want to check it out, you can go back. I'm literally just going to repeat the same summary for this match right here. This one will always be one of my favorite matches of all time because it carried a lot of weight for me and signified New Japan Pro Wrestling returning to its glory days, even if it was only for one night. The return to packed houses of cheering fans. The pandemic clap crowd era of New Japan was rough, but now we're finally free and Wrestle Kingdom is Wrestle Kingdom once again. Only Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay could put on a match of this caliber in this situation on this biggest stage. This match is everything we love about pro wrestling. Pageantry via extravagant entrances. Omega Sephiroth entrance marking the return of the Best Bout Machine, and Will Ospreay's entrance marking the return of the Aerial Assassin. Immediately our perceived face and heel situation was switched up. Brilliant. Athleticism by way of insane spots like Omega attempting the dreaded top rope dragon suplex, only for Ospreay to land on his feet. Or Omega actually hitting Croyd's Wrath off the top rope. Ridiculous. Brutality by way of violence, and Omega's desire to destroy Ospreay by smashing his head into a table. Or Ospreay repaying violence with violence through a series of cheeky Nando's kicks that defined the word stiff and caused Omega's eye to swell shut. Ospreay's comeback was electric. The story of the young hotshot who had sworn he'd surpassed and replaced the absent legend, only for him to return and remind the world that he's still the best. This match was violent, it was athletic, it was dramatic, it was incredible. Omega and Ospreay never kind of hit their moves. Everything is so precise, which is wild considering the athleticism that's on display here. One of my favorite matches of all time, and my definite match of the year for 2023. Number 3, Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kota Ibushi, New Japan Pro Wrestling, G1 28 Finals, 2018. One of the greatest matches of all time, and still, in my opinion, the greatest G1 final ever, which is saying a lot. Brilliant character work and a masterclass on surpassing your limits. Tanahashi's last climb to the top of New Japan meets Kota Ibushi's seemingly inevitable destiny of being the company's top star. This match is amazing. It's an epic match that doesn't try to be epic, it just happens organically. So many unforgettable moments. Tanahashi willing himself through murder Ibushi's shoot strikes, or Ibushi hitting that nasty moonsault with the double knees. Tanahashi still hitting picture perfect bridging dragon and straight jacket suplexes past age 40. Ibushi hitting that spider middle rope German suplex. Tanahashi hitting the nastiest sling blade ever. All of it is so perfect. The wise old veteran against the rising star who worships the ground he walks on, but also knows it's his time, and if he has to destroy his idol, he's willing to do so. But Tanahashi flat out will not be beaten. The story is great, and it's simple, but it just works on so many levels. Nobody displays emotion without ever seeming corny or not genuine on the level that Hiroshi Tanahashi does. This match is legendary. If 2017 is my favorite year in pro wrestling history, 2018 is probably right behind it at number 2. Amazing. Number 2, Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay, AEW Dynasty, 2024. Danielson's promo before this match was incredible. When I die, my heaven will be standing in this ring. Bryan Danielson is a psycho, first of all, but I think that's what makes him so good. He's such a pure talent, and I don't know if I've ever seen a wrestling star that loves the art of pro wrestling more than he does. This was 2 generational masters of the craft at entirely different points in their careers. Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay surpassed my ridiculous expectations. I was fully expecting them to put on an all-time classic, but my goodness, for this to shoot all the way up to my second favorite match of all time was incredible. This was one of the best matches I've ever seen in the history of pro wrestling. There was no doubt that these two would put on an unforgettable performance, but the crowd was electric from the moment the bell rang, and it gave us a moment similar to the one Omega and Danielson had at AEW Grand Slam. An exhilarating clash of styles. Danielson's stiff, grounded, and technical prowess meets Ospreay's unmatched athleticism and strength. The counters were flawless. Danielson's out here pulling out the bridging tiger suplex in his 40s, then the absolutely insane avalanche tiger suplex. This match was legendary, a masterpiece, and the definition of both these guys. Match of the year and maybe match of the decade. A crowd chant of "we're not worthy" perfectly encapsulates the feeling that this match gave me. The hidden blade versus Busaiku knee finishing sequence was exhilarating. This was an all-timer. This is what we watch pro wrestling for. Just an incredible match, and if this is the final year of Bryan Danielson as a full-time performer, he's going out in a way that I don't think anyone else could. Danielson wrestles in the style that I gravitate to the most in wrestling, and seeing that style be represented on a stage in a match of this level just makes me happy. Number 1, my favorite pro wrestling match of all time, Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada 1, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Wrestle Kingdom 11, 2017. How do I put into words my appreciation for my favorite match of all time? The year was 2017, and by this time in my life, Wrestle Kingdom was my Christmas. I had always been a fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling, but more from tapes of the 90s than the current product. Then, around about 2012, I started checking out New Japan because I was hearing about Hiroshi Tanahashi and these insane G1 tournaments, and I was in. For almost 5 years, I tried to get people to check out New Japan, but I couldn't get through to anyone until the wrestling gods gifted us this masterpiece that could serve as the bridge to expose New Japan to the Western commercial world. A rivalry born purely out of competition of sport. The biggest stage possible, and 2 stars that absolutely broke the world with a revolutionary blend of athleticism, in-ring storytelling, drama, and high spots. I've talked about the pageantry that exists in pro wrestling, unforgettable epic entrances by both guys, Kenny Omega, the Terminator and G1 Climax winner, and of course, Kazuchika Okada, the new face and unbeatable champion. Nobody moves quite like Omega in the ring. The momentary, twitchy explosiveness meets Okada's calm confidence. This match is literally everything. The table spot was horrifying. Omega's top rope dragon suplex was diabolical. Okada's drop kick defies physics, and Kenny Omega shouldn't be able to move this way for a guy his size. Nobody sells the Rainmaker as a devastating finisher like Omega, and nobody brings out the sleeping emotion inside Okada like Omega. An exhilarating closing stretch, including all of the legendary spots that would be further expanded upon in the later matches of this epic rivalry. The opening chapter to an all-time great rivalry and just greatness in general. This is my favorite match ever. This is why I love pro wrestling. That does it for my top 10 favorite matches of all time. Thank y'all for listening, and stay tuned for more pro wrestling lists. Peace.